was a mama's boy. He was fun. He was good to everybody. He just wanted everyone to get along. No fighting, get along. He had the biggest heart of anyone I knew. Even in high school, he'd be like, "Come on," and give me a big hug. He didn't care who he was around. He was such a good kid, and he loved life. My son was in the Kandahar region in Afghanistan from 2012 to 2013. In that 12-month window, I believe there was about 408 fatalities of either being shot or blown up by explosives. My son was in a mortar attack. He was close by, but he was in a bunker, so some of his brothers, didn't make it. He was traumatized. He was working for the National Guard in Hartford, Connecticut, doing IT. He liked that. But because he was struggling emotionally, they ended up laying him off. 2 months later, he was discharged. 4 months later, he took his life.
You're leaving home, you're going to go into an environment that's totally alien to the way you grew up. The people are alien, the country's alien, the food is alien, everything is alien, the situations you're in. And then you come back home here and you have lingering memories. We have to respond to them in a different way. They need companionship, they need camaraderie, the camaraderie that they had in combat or in a combat zone. You need to talk to them, not drug them. They need to sit down and talk with them.
We have had 15 years of continuous warfare that has been offshore and onshore, and the men and women that are deployed are unlike any other period in time, and we're finding a sharp increase in the amount of post-traumatic stress that's being seen when they return to their civilian life, and unfortunately we're not catering for the needs of the men and women as they return to our community from a mental health perspective.
War's messy and ugly, but I think we all owe it to them. Make sure that we teach them coping skills, because they have to process what happened. Because when my son explained to me that he was struggling really bad, and I was just listening, and he said that I can't sleep at night. He's like, the things I see in my head, I can't sleep at night, they keep me up at night. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, well, are you talking to anyone about it? He goes, yeah, I am at the VA. He's like, they gave me a lot of pills. And he's like, and I think it's too much.
Post-traumatic stress, we call it a disorder, but in fact we're clinicalizing something that is actually the most normal reaction to the most abnormal experiences. So we're asking our young men and our young women to deploy and to do and see things that we do not, we're not meant to see and do as human beings. And their reaction to that is absolutely in line with what they've just experienced.
You think about somebody who's hurting emotionally and is traumatized and sad and guilty and feels like no one gets them, they're alone, they're isolated, they're diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder, so you're labeled, you have a disorder, and now I'm going to discharge you from the National Guard, and you're really not any good, you're damaged goods, so you're discharged. My son was discharged, he took his life 4 months later. They discharged him knowing that he had attempted his life previously, and I think there's another gap and a red flag that we could do better. As a parent who loses a child that way, no one really talks about it, no one really wants to talk about it. I think because it is so difficult, even family and friends kind of pull away a little bit because no one really wants to talk about it, and it's a double-edged sword because no one wants to talk about it because they don't want to make you upset. But then not talking about it also makes it like it's different than if you lost a child in other ways.
In 2012, the VA released a staggering statistic regarding veteran suicide that averaged to about 22 veterans a day were committing suicide, which is essentially an epidemic in our community. Since that time, in 2013, 22 Kill was established out of Dallas. It was established by veterans to promote awareness and veteran advocacy and suicide prevention for veterans that were returning, getting out, and kind of helping transition them and bridging the gap between the civilian and the veteran community.
When you have 22 every day doing this, I'm sorry. There's a big problem, and it's our business to do our very best to fix it. And as a country, we need to do more for them, and that's what my new mission is. How can I best honor my son? Put a lot of thought into it, and that's when I came up to a retreat center so that our veterans and first responders have a place, a vacation type place for the purpose of healing. It's for small groups, so like 12 people. So there's 6 bedrooms, 2 beds each, big living room, big open space, big kitchen table, because it's all about togetherness and bonding. That's where I think we can make a difference.
You start with the setting being in a tranquil place where it's peace, it's quiet, but it has scenery. It's not a treatment center, it's not a hospital, but it will have yoga, it will have music, it will have barbecue, fishing. We have veterans that we come across and we counsel, speak to, that we can recommend them to go out to this facility. And we can take their mind off the issues that they're currently dealing with. We can break the problem down through the slow process over the time that's spent there. And then we can reevaluate it and find them a new approach. And maybe sometimes they just need to clear their head first.
Our VFW post got behind her through some local people that we know. And we've got her back. We're going to make sure that we stay with it and help her out get this facility built. And then we're going to man it with people to help her out.
This day is about you. It's to acknowledge the sacrifice that you've made for all of us in our entire country.
It's about letting those of you know who are suffering, who've come back, who are getting ready to go, that there's a community and there are people who love you and care about you and want what's best for you.
Here's his medals, and it's in a shadow box outside that you'll see, along with the flag that draped his coffin. The National Defense Service Medal, awarded to all services in designated war periods. Afghan Campaign Medal, Global War on Terrorism. Armed Forces Reserve Medal, NATO Medal, Army Service Medal, Overseas Deployment Ribbon, and here's an interesting one, the Army Achievement Medal. It's a personal decoration, not a unit. It's personal for something this individual's done. Less than 5% of U.S. Army personnel get it. And you know what it says at the end of it? His actions bring great credit upon himself, the 1048th Transportation Company, and the United States Army. I don't know about you, but I want to raise my children to be that person right there.
Donna is a wonderful example of a lady that has taken the most tragic event that could happen in a mother's life to begin to empower a community.
We do things out of our heart and soul as a coping mechanism, and we turn a negative into a positive. She's taken that negative and she is driving that train full throttle.
If we can spare another mother, another child, another spouse, and another veteran from such tragedy, I think we all owe it to them to do our very best.